Oh, Snizzity Snap, baby. We are back. And today, we're going to talk about some fun stuff. I think it's fun. A lot of stuff going on here in the media, and I'm going to break it down a little bit at a time, all the way to the grand finale, and see how it is we can be better as human beings. So, what is your true identity? What am I talking about here? Well, it seems to me that we kind of have, I don't know if you want to call it identity crisis in our culture today, but there seems to be a lot of attaching ourselves to certain identities. And it could be anything related. It could be, for me, a lot of times it's health and fitness related or nutrition related. There's obviously people that are vegan, people who eat meat, and kind of the back and forth with that. And then we have everything going on in the political world, right? Big topics, things going on all the time. Extreme on one side, extreme on the other side, and kind of people in the middle trying to figure out what's going on. And so first off, I always like to say my little disclaimer here that, I am not a professional in any manner of speaking in this arena, whether it be a doctor, a scientist, a psychologist. I have no formal training in anything. These are just my observations throughout life and just studying and looking at people and how we interact as human beings, and just kind of food for thought, as well as maybe just a different perspective if you don't think the same way I do. And hopefully this kind of opens up your mind a little bit more and opens up more conversations between all of us human beings, because look, we're all here on this earth together. So I think the more we know about each other, the more that we learn how to interact better, the more we can help each other and just have an overall just better life together. So let's break this thing down. So it seems to me that we as a society have kind of decided to wrap ourselves in a very specific identity more and more these days. And I don't really know the reason why, and I'm going to kind of discuss maybe what I think some of the reasons are or why. And is it inherently a bad thing that we do this? I don't know. Maybe not. That's kind of a question to be answered for ourselves. And or is it a good thing? It could be sometimes good, sometimes maybe not so good. But I think if we attach ourselves to something and it has a very rigid way of interacting, where you can't go outside of this specific way of thinking or these specific actions, it can start to be a little problematic, especially if it doesn't allow you to interact with other people who maybe think a little bit differently, do things a little bit differently, and I think it really keeps us from growing as human beings. The only way I know for me personally that I can grow is to expand my mind more, to have different perspectives and points of view and thoughts about things. And, where I can tell myself, hey, I didn't think about things that way. When this person explained it to me, or when I heard this explained a certain way, I was able to change my point of view, change my perspective, and say, now, maybe as a whole, I think about something a certain way, but now I kind of broaden my spectrum of my understanding a little bit better. And maybe when confronted with something, this is maybe now how I'm going to handle it differently than I would have done it before. So when it comes to our identity, it can be something as simple as, like I said, being a vegan, or being somebody who's a fitness, maybe not expert, but someone who's decided they're going to live a fit and healthy lifestyle, versus someone who lives more of a sedentary lifestyle and doesn't really watch the foods and things that they intake. It could be politically related. It could be anything. And I shouldn't say it this way. I do, to a point, understand why we do this. But the more things that I hear, and the more stories that come about, and the more just overall interactions that we have, and not only the interactions, the the resources that we have to get this information, right? We have social media everywhere, and mainstream media all the time, and coming to our phones every second of the day, all the time. So before, in the past, we'd have to wait for the evening news to come on, maybe, or the nightly news to come on, and get some of the information. And we'd only get what they gave us. We didn't get every single thing happening all the time from every human being that's alive that has access to the internet. And so, I don't know. I'm sure some of it, if there's anybody out there who's studies any kind of evolution, studies the human brain and how we think about things and why it is we do certain things. But it seems to be somewhat of an evolutionary thing that we as human beings need to attach ourselves to some kind of an identity. Maybe it was something in the past. We belonged to a certain tribe, and so we wanted to make sure that this is who we're kind of representing, or this is this group of people. In order to stay safe, this is who we attached ourselves to. So we were part of something. Maybe I'm sure there's something to that. I haven't done any research myself, so I don't really know. It makes sense that that's kind of a big part of it. But that being said, I mean, there's other things in our evolutionary past that we've broken away from, because of who we are and how we're able to think differently nowadays. And we do have so many more resources that we can say, I'm not going to do things this way anymore. Now that we have these tools, or we have these new advantages at our fingertips, I'm going to make some changes to how I live my life. And we can do that with this as well. We can make changes, but we have to understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. If we're kind of just going willy-nilly and going with maybe what feels good at the time or what sounds good at the time, we can definitely put ourselves in a I don't want to say a bad situation, but in a situation where now we maybe have to kind of dig ourselves out of a hole. And if we can kind of cut that off ahead of time, for me, I've decided, to live my life a certain way when it comes to health and fitness. I believe for me, it's going to be better. It's going to pay off in the long run. I've thought about it. I've looked at, I shouldn't say I've looked at any studies. I've looked at 0 studies, but I've listened to people who spend their time and energy in this world, and they all come to the same conclusions. It's, you live a healthier lifestyle. You can live maybe a little bit longer, but the years that you do have, you're able to be more mobile. You're able to not have as many diseases or ailments within your body, muscle atrophy, bones deteriorating, all these things, right? So there's all this wealth of knowledge behind it. So I've decided, for me, this is how I want to live my life. And sure, you can say I've attached myself to this identity. I believe it's a good thing. I believe it's a positive thing, and that's the reason why I chose it. I've looked at it very carefully. I understand some of the sacrifices that go along with it, and it doesn't mean that I'm perfect in this area. Obviously, I still got kind of a little bit of a belly here that I got to work on, and but it's just, overall, I live a very healthy lifestyle. Some people, now within the health and fitness, there's all these different areas of what's the healthiest way to live your life. Some people believe it's plant-based. Some people believe it's carnivore. Some people believe it's omnivore, a little bit of both, and in the right doses, and the right kinds of foods, and all these things. So within all that, you have all these other little identities. Some people, their identity is music. Some people, their identity is art. It's creating things. Some people, it's gaming. Some people, there's so many things that we in some way, shape, or form attach ourselves to. And sometimes we do it without even thinking. And what I'm concentrating more on, today is, and by today I mean here with this discussion, is things that can negatively affect us if we're not careful. if we don't pay attention to why we're doing something and really the path that it's going to take us down and who we might lose in the process. If there's people in our lives that we do want to keep in our lives, but we push them away because we're following this identity that has a very rigid way of thinking, a very rigid way of acting. And now I can't listen to someone over here on this side because we're such opposing forces. I think it can definitely be dangerous when you go to really far to the extremes of this. But not only dangerous, it can be very hurtful. I don't want to lose anybody in my life because we think somewhat differently about a topic or even just a way to live our lives. I mean, how I want to say this. I've said it before. I've said it before on this podcast in a past episode. I don't remember which one it was, but I've said all the people in my life today, all the people that I love with all my heart, that I care about, that I want in my life, whether it's daily or just on a consistent basis, every single person, family, my blood relatives, my family that I bring into my life as through friendships, every single person, we have different opinions about so many things. Now, we don't sit and talk about them every single time and try to convince each other every single time that we have the right way of living life. No, we offer help, we offer food for thought, we offer our opinions sometimes, or just maybe a different perspective. And sometimes we'll talk about it and we can work through it. And at the end of the day, maybe we just agree to disagree. But we never attach ourselves to these identities so much that it affects our relationships. Because I can tell you, if and it probably doesn't even really exist. We like to think that it exists, but if I was able to find a group of people, or even one person in this whole world of 7.5 billion people, if I could find one person that I agreed 100% with everything across the board, from relationships to politics to health and fitness to the movies we like to the music we like to how to raise kids to everything across the board that we deal with as a human being, if I could find one person that we agreed on all these topics, it doesn't mean that I would even like this person. It just means we line up categorically with these topics. But it doesn't even mean that our this is going to sound a little, hippy dippy, but our spirits would connect. And what I mean by that is, I'm sure we've all met somebody, and everybody in my life, this is how it is. We've met somebody and right away we clicked. We knew right away we liked each other. We didn't know anything about each other. We haven't really talked very much. We haven't gone on a vacation together and really interacted, in an intimate way, so to speak. But we knew right away that we liked each other. And as we got to know each other more, it just kind of solidified everything, where we say, yeah, this is one of my best friends, or this is my best friend, and this is somebody I love and care about, and I want in my life, and I would do just about anything for. It doesn't mean we have to line up. And just because you do line up doesn't mean you actually really do like this person. I know that sounds strange. You would think that if we think the same way on all these different topics, that we would like each other, that we should like each other. But if that was even possible, it's no guarantee that we would. And my whole point is, you don't have to like or love people that you have in your life. You don't have to line up across the board with every single thing. You don't have to. I promise you, because I don't. I've said it, I just said it right now, and I said it before. We differ in our ways of thinking and our thought processes and how, and even things that we believe in. We differ in so many ways. Now, we don't differ so drastically. It's not like I believe that you should support your kids and someone else believes that you should beat your kids, right? It's never that. It's nothing so drastic and terrible that we can't get through, we can't get over. We just we have different points of view. We have different approaches to the same complex problem. And the complex problem in all these things is how to be the best human being possible and how to raise great human beings if you have kids. So, evolutionary, I'm sure there's a reason why. But we can get over that if we're conscious of it, if we're paying attention, and we really try to understand what we're doing and why we're choosing a certain path. We can get over this thought process of thinking I need to attach myself to this specific identity because this is going to get me to the land of gold, so to speak. I know that was kind of a shitty metaphor, but that's all I can think of at the moment. So now let's break it down even further and even a little bit deeper here. Is the reason why we're attaching ourselves to certain identities, is it because we have insecurities? And letting these insecurities make decisions that we normally wouldn't make, and that we're avoiding these insecurities, so we're going to project outward so we don't have to look within ourselves? That's possible, right? I think it is. I've done it. I guarantee you I've done it. And I'd be willing to bet, if I was able to really dig into my brain and every little aspect, besides the health factor, the factors in wanting to live a good, healthy life, the insecurities of being overweight, of being maybe looked at as not as attractive, if I'm not fit. I'm sure that maybe played a part into my decision of wanting to attach myself to living a healthy lifestyle. I'm sure that's played in my head before. I know it has. So I'm guilty. I'm guilty of all these things. I never want to project outward as if I got it all figured out. And I'm sure some people may watch this video and go, well, hey, Eric, do you have it all figured out? Is your life perfect? And that's why you think that you have the right to talk to other people about these things? Nope. That ain't it. It's not it at all. I believe in sharing. And I've done this in the past with my friends and family, and now I'm just trying to do it on a bigger scale. I'm definitely not perfect. I've never claimed to be perfect, and I never will be perfect. Like I said at the beginning, this is just food for thought. This is just another perspective, and maybe it helps, and maybe it doesn't. But I'll let you decide that. So yeah, I'm guilty of this as well, of letting insecurities kind of make decisions for us. But sometimes it can get really bad. If we have insecurities of being alone or not being accepted, and that was kind of the next thing I had listed on here is, do we have this need or this extreme want to be part of a team, to be accepted, to feel important, or even more so, to feel like we're in a elite status, right? I'm part of this group, so I'm better. We're better than everybody else because we think and do these things this way. I think that's a big problem in our society right now, that people have decided that this group and this identity they've attached themselves to, that they're the elite, and that everyone else doesn't know, everyone else is dumb, and everybody else doesn't get it, and they never will unless they think and act exactly the same way as we do as part of this group. And I'm not going to point out any groups because we're all guilty of it, I'm sure, on some level. And that's a broken mentality. It's a broken mentality that A, isn't true. It's just not. And B, it's not even a good way to go about things. To think that you're better. And what does that even mean? You're better as a human being. You might be more healthy, or you might be better at a specific task, or you might be whatever. Pick something, whatever group you want to go with, more enlightened, whatever. You may be maybe a little bit more ahead in that arena. But as a total human being, if your finances are in disarray, if your house is a mess, if your kids are all wild and crazy because you're not paying attention to them because all you're doing is spending your time and focus over here, doesn't mean your whole life, the whole picture of everything, doesn't mean that you got it all wrapped up. It just means that over here you've chosen something and you believe that it's the better way to go about through life. But it doesn't mean that you're better. It doesn't mean that you're a more what's the word, like a more of a regal human being. It doesn't have to be that, but so many of us have kind of just decided that, and I know I'm guilty of this. I've been guilty of this, and I'm working really. I'm not trying. I'm working really hard to not think this way. And sometimes I get wrapped up in my own head, my own thought processes, and I just naturally think it. Well, I worked out hard today. Just last week, I did a 3-day practice. I did a 6 a.m. I went to work. I did a 6 p.m. and a 7 p.m. practice. And I thought I was hot shit. I was like, man, I'm better than most people here, that I work with, because they didn't get up early like me and work out. They didn't work out after working all day. So I'm better. And it's an easy thing to get caught up in if you're not careful. But if you don't pay attention and you're not careful, that can start to run your life. You can live your whole life that way. Oh, I do this, so I'm better. Oh, I think this, I'm better. Oh, I'm part of this team and this group, and we're just better. Look, this weekend coming up is a Super Bowl. Shout out to my Niners. Yeah, in the Super Bowl back once again. But look, they're my team, and they've been my team since I was a little kid. And I'm going to be cheering my ass off for them. It's going to be so much fun. But at the end of the day, when the game is over, that's it. The season's over. I'll go back to my life. And quite honestly, the 49ers, any of the team members or the team itself, they have no ties to my life on a personal level. If they win and I cheer them on and I'm super happy and me and all my friends that are cheering for them or high five and everything, the next day when I have to go back to work, it's not like the 49ers are calling me up going, hey, Eric, don't worry about going to work today. We got you. We're going to pay some bills for you. No, it's got nothing to do with anything. It's just a team that I'm rooting for. And it's fun. I'm going to have a good time with it. And it's been fun this whole football season cheering for them. It's been great. It's a little thing that I get to enjoy as part of my life, but it's not my whole life. That's the point. It's not my whole life. Neither is health and fitness. Neither is the job that I have. Neither is anything that I do. All of these things are just a part of my life. They're not my true identity. My true identity, I believe, and this is just for me, I'm kind of the sum of all these things. I want to be a great father, a great husband, a great son, a great brother, a great friend, a great jiu-jitsu competitor and artist, martial artist. I want to be a great worker and co-worker. All the things that I do, I want to be great at. And all these things will make up who I am. And who I am, I'm a human being. I'm a person trying to live the best life possible and trying to enhance the people around me. That's it. If I had to say, what's your identity, Eric? That's my identity. I want to be a well-rounded, good, whole human being. Not the health and fit guy, not the jiu-jitsu guy, not the this guy, not the that guy, not the sales guy. Those are just parts of who I am. So I'm being very conscious not to fall into the trap of I'm this and I'm that and I'm better and I'm more elite and I'm this and whatever. I don't want to get caught up in that because it's not healthy for my relationships. It's not healthy for me, for my brain, for my emotions. It's, as a human being, I don't think it's healthy. And with social media, it's all fairly new to us. So I think over the generations we're going to get better at it, and maybe unfortunately my generation we're going to keep running amok with it a little bit. But hopefully through other podcasts, through this podcast, and through more interaction, and the more, maybe damage that we see that happens, we all start kind of steering the ship into a different direction, into a more positive direction, because we're all here on this earth together, and we all want the same thing for the most part, right? There's extremes and exceptions, but I believe we all want to live the best life. We all want our kids then to live their best life, and our grandkids, and all the way down the line. We all want these things, but we're not always doing all the right things to get there. And I believe that attaching ourselves to a specific identity, that those, the identity itself doesn't care. Just like the 49ers don't really care about me personally. Do they care about their fans? I'm sure, right? But personally, they don't have an attachment to me. If I decided to root for another team tomorrow, they'd never know. It wouldn't affect them at all. And some of these identities operate very much the same way. If you left, or something happened to you, God forbid, and you weren't here anymore, that group of people and that idea and thought and side, if you will, they're going to keep going on. Some of them may be upset, and they may miss you, but for the most part, it's going to keep going on. So if you're going to give everything to something that may or may not, I don't want to say care, but even recognize if you're gone, that may not be the healthiest way to go. Now, I'm just a salesman as a career professional. What do I know? Maybe nothing. This may all be a bunch of BS. But I believe that if we're conscious about the identities that we're choosing, and we're not so stuck to it in a way that it's going to affect us, our relationships, and our overall interactions and experiences on this earth as a human being in a negative way, if we're doing it to be positive, and sometimes the intentions are good, but the outcomes are not. And we have to be careful of that too, because that happens so much these days, where we choose something and we believe that we have it right. We believe that we're on the right side of history. And we may not be. And not that the idea itself isn't the right way to go. It's the way that we're going about it. It's the way that we're interacting with the other people that maybe aren't on the same side as us. I don't want to even say opposing us, but maybe just they're not on the same side, or they're on the same side. They're just taking a different path. And sometimes that's okay. We all have to find our own path to get to where we want to go. But we don't want to alienate or to disregard people because they've chosen a different path, especially when they're on the same side. And even if they're not, we got to be careful to say to other human beings, to other people, that somebody loves, somebody cares about, even if we don't, that you're wrong, you're terrible, you're a piece of shit, you don't belong here, you need to go away, you should never be able to work again, whatever, any of this nasty venom that as a culture, as a society, we've decided to do from time to time. It's not a good thing. And I believe if we open up our minds a little bit more, we say, hey, this is what I believe. This is how I'm going to live my life. And I believe it would benefit other people to do the same. So I'm going to spread the knowledge and the information in the best way possible so people want to receive it, right? If we come butting heads, right away with people, they don't see the good stuff that we're doing and that we have to offer. They're seeing negative because we're coming at them from a negative point of view. Like the old saying, you catch more bees with honey, not with vinegar. But yet we're using almost all vinegar these days, it feels like. Not everybody. There's some great people out there. I have a friend just today. She put a post out about eating a plant-based diet, and that she believes it's the best way, but she doesn't go around preaching to everybody and telling everybody this is how you should eat. She just shows everybody through her personal experiences, this is what I'm doing, and offering information, offering advice to people if they ask, but just showing people, hey, this is what I'm doing, here's the results, here's how I do it, and if you want to join me, if you want to join how I do things, then great. That's the way to go. So shout out to her. I don't want to say her name because I didn't get permission, but she knows who she is, and that's the way we should be doing it. That's how you catch the bees with the honey. Saying, look what I'm doing. Look at the results. The results are here. The proof is in the pudding. There's no second guess work. And it doesn't mean you have to do it exactly the same way. Look, I don't have the same body type maybe. I don't have the same genetics. There's a lot of variables. But the overall principles are there for me to follow if I choose to. That's a good way. I believe that's the right way. To present something and say, hey, look, here's an option. Here's the results. If you decide to choose this option, sure, there are different paths and different ways to get here within this option, but I think it's a good thing, and I just want to share it with everybody. And you decide what you want to do from there. That's the way. And we'll all kind of find our way within all that if we decide, hey, I'm gonna give that path a try. I never thought about it, but the way this person's making it looks pretty damn awesome. It's worth a shot. Not, hey, this is what I'm doing, and if you don't do it, you're dumb. And not only are you dumb, you're gonna pay. You're gonna pay big time. Even if that was the truth. Even if that's 100% true, that makes somebody dumb and they're gonna pay harshly for that decision. Even if that's true, that's not the way to convince them. What? Because I've chosen this identity in my life, and I'm going to go out and telling everybody that they're stupid. We all believe, most of us believe that we're making good, positive decisions. We can't all be right. Or maybe we can be right in different ways. There's no one way to live this life. And there's no one perfect identity that's got it all figured out. I promise you that. To sum up, identities, are they good? Are they bad? I don't think they're either. I think they can be good and they can be bad. It's all how we decide we're going to pursue our lives within these identities. And if we decide that we're going to make it so rigid that we're going to alienate everybody who doesn't think and act the same way, okay, we can do that. But there's consequences to that too. And just be ready for those consequences. But if you choose an identity that is open and fun and interesting and has a big broad spectrum of people and thought processes and ways to go about things, I think that can be helpful. And I think that if we don't give into our insecurities, we don't give into needing to be part of some team that we believe that is going to be the answers to all of our problems, because it's not. A lot of times it just kind of keeps us preoccupied from everything that really is going on. And it keeps us from looking at the true obstacles and true issues that we have within our lives. And because we're focusing it on this thing over here, with this team, with this identity, we don't have to look at all the different things that we have going on with our life and things that we need to overcome. So that is my non-professional opinion about all these things. Identities, they can be great things. They absolutely can. We just have to use them and reach out to other people with these identities in a good, positive, healthy way. More honey, less vinegar. So that's the message here this week. I appreciate everybody for listening. And I got a few more topics coming up. I got some more guests coming up over the next couple of weeks. It should be pretty awesome here, and talk about putting positive vibes out there for the world and offering things to people. My next few guests, all my guests, but the ones that I know I have for sure coming up here, they're doing it, man. They're putting out some great things. They're helping people. They're being positive. They're being motivational. They're showing people a way, a good, positive way. And I love it. It's going to be so much fun. And I'm excited about it. So this is Motivate with EY here for this week. And I'll see you guys next week. Thank you all for watching. Have a great night. And we'll see you later. Peace.